Hello. Many of our Black youth struggle to achieve academic success in higher ed. Tonight, we will discuss ways in which to interrupt the normalization of underachievement and increasingly poor performance of Black students with supports that enable opportunities for greater successful educational attainment. Here's an interesting quote. "You can't grow roses from a bed of rock." A statement suggesting that an educational reset is required to disrupt the status quo and for us to take a more caring and decisive affirmative look at the issue. To better understand the challenges faced by higher education, I will question: why are Black males, females, 18 to 25-year-old students underperforming in education? What systemic issues are at play that contribute to poor academic success? And how important is access, retention, and attainment of higher education to society? However, let's first take a step back. Poor performance in education begins as early as K-12 for visibly Black minority students. Many are streamed into applied versus academic courses and continuously challenged by socioeconomic status and racial issues. So having said that, could this be a question of equity and equality? Let's find out more. Did you know that in 2006, 2.5% of the Canadian population identified themselves as Black? And Black is all visible peoples of African, Afro-Caribbean, and African Canadian descent. Here I've identified some of the many contributing factors that I see may influence academic performance for students. Challenges of equity and opportunity exist every day of the year for young Black youth. Areas of further research may include access, admission, orientation, retention, support in and out of the classroom, and how to enable pathways to desirable and respectful, meaningful jobs. My intent is to examine through the lens of Black youth why Black students are unable to complete their desired program of study and what can be done to improve the broader learning environment to close the attainment gap for academic success. Ontario may possibly be the most diverse province in Canada, where 26% of the population are visible minorities and 60% Black. Though a priority for higher education is access, retention, attainment, and progression to employment, the minority Black population appears to be underserved. Initial studies show that academic success for Black youth continues to decline. Dropout rates have grown to 40% in the last 20 years. My initial observation is that if there was a firm commitment to improve academic support to Black youth to nurture greater participation, engagement, attainment, and progression towards meaningful employment, why then are dropout rates so high? Left uncorrected, this could be a reason for poor academic performance. And so, why are Black students underperforming? A reminder that underachievement can only happen if you're given the opportunity to succeed. So that leaves us only to ask ourselves what can be done to improve the broader learning environment to help close the attainment gap for academic success. To examine this troubling and emerging issue in higher ed, a mix of case studies and peer-reviewed journals and Black student academic supports will be closely looked at, framed around the lens of equity and equality in education. Here are some of the notable references used thus far. Early indicators suggest that our society and education systems will need to act decisively to interrupt the issues contributing to the normalization of underachievement of Black students in Canada. Okay, let's recap where we've been thus far. Question: why are Canadian Black youths underperforming in education, and how is this able to continue throughout 2018 and quite possibly beyond? Secondly, the concepts to be explored include poverty, cultural capital, anti-Black racism, as well as the critical race theory. And finally, this paper will argue that the systemic issues of equity and equality attributed to race, class, age, and gender of marginalized groups, specifically Black youth, creates an environment that may interrupt access and engagement to education and progression to meaningful employment. My name is John Bertie, and I would like to thank you for your time in allowing me to present one of many emerging issues that will continue to provoke further dialogue throughout 2018. Good night.